into computers, I guess. And that also got me a job at Apple. So I worked at Apple retail for about 2.5 years, and I taught the one-to-one classes there. Has anyone ever taken classes at Apple before? Well, that's what I did there. It was pretty fun. And then I started training new employees at Apple, and that was fun as well. And I was ready for something new and ended up here, which was really awesome. So who maybe started out on PCs before getting like a Mac from the district? I know I started out using PCs originally. And when I got my first Mac for school, I thought it was pretty awesome. I thought it was the first time I actually had fun using a computer and actually enjoyed the operating system. So the Mac does a lot of cool stuff that might not be obvious to us. So I'm going to just maybe first go over some basics about the operating system. And some of this you might know all of it, you might know some of it, so if it seems a little basic, I apologize. And then we'll get into maybe a few more advanced things and then maybe any questions that you may have. Does that sound good? Great. Okay, so at the center of the Mac operating system, we have what's called Finder. When you open your computer, it's typically what it says in the upper left-hand corner, which is where it tells you what application you're in. So Finder does just that. It helps you find things. It helps you organize things as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Finder. And the first thing that comes up for me by default is all my files. It's just a way to kind of see what you have on your computer, no matter where it's living. So these documents, they actually live in my documents folder, but because I'm in all my files, it's just really showing me everything I have on here. And on the left side, which is called the favorites bar here, we've got a couple other areas, and that allows you to navigate between your different folders. There may be times that you want more stuff in your favorites, because you probably access your favorite things a lot. So you can actually customize Finder quite a bit. So if you go to the Finder application menu in the upper left, you'll find something called Preferences. And in Preferences, you've got a few options. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the sidebar options. And here you can add and remove options, favorites from your sidebar. So I'm going to go ahead and add movies, music, and pictures.
Can you move that Finder window over so you can see it popping up?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
So now I've got some more options here over my favorites. You can also drag any folder that you've created on your own into that area if it's something that you find yourself accessing a lot. Great. So that's all good and well to be organized and everything like that, but sometimes I can be lazy and I don't know where I put stuff on my computer and maybe don't have the time to sit down and put everything into folders. So that's where my favorite part of the Mac operating system comes in, and that's called Spotlight. I'm going to go ahead and close Finder. Spotlight is the magnifying glass icon in the upper right-hand corner. This allows me to find literally anything that's on my computer. Just very helpful if you don't know where stuff is. So you can click Spotlight to bring it up, and it may look a little different depending on what version of the OS you're on. But even easier than that, we can use a key command to open Spotlight. So this is generally how I open and find anything on my computer. If you look on your keyboard, next to your spacebar, on either side you have a command key. If you hold command and then tap the spacebar, that's going to pull up Spotlight. So you're already right there with your hands on your keyboard, you can start searching. So I've started a keynote about bridges. I type in the first 3 letters there, it's already got it up and ready for me. It's highlighted, so if I hit the return key, it's going to open that document. So what's really powerful about Spotlight, it doesn't just look at document titles. It looks at text inside your documents or spreadsheets or mail or notes for any keywords that you're searching. So it can be really helpful. It can also open applications. So maybe I want to open Calculator, but it's not on my dock at the bottom. If I just type in the first few letters, I'm going to see my calculator, hit return. It's going to go ahead and open whatever application that I need it to. It also does a couple other cool things. Maybe you don't even want to open the calculator. Maybe you want to do some simple math right there inside of Spotlight. So I can do, I could do 8 times 15. And it's just going to show me the answer right there within Spotlight without opening anything. So there's a lot of neat stuff you can do in there.
Does it do that in Mavericks also?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great. So let's talk about the trackpad a little bit. The trackpad is a great way to control the computer. A mouse is another great way. But the trackpad actually does a lot of different functions. So coming from some of you coming from PCs, who's used to right-clicking, copy, right-click, paste, right-click, delete, right-click, anything, right? By clicking the trackpad with 2 fingers, that's going to give you your right-click. So right there, being encouraged to organize. I can make a new folder right there on my desktop just by right-clicking my desktop screen, or even changing the desktop background from there. So depending on what you right-click, it'll be content sensitive. You'll get a different set of options depending on what you right-click. So get curious and just right-click stuff and see what your options are. You might find a lot of cool shortcuts you didn't know about. Okay, so I've got this new folder right here that I've created. What happens if I right-click that? I get a whole nother set of options. So maybe I want to go ahead and move that to the trash. And maybe I've moved a lot of stuff to the trash and I haven't emptied the trash recently. What do you think happens if you right-click the trash can? Yeah, it gives you an option to go ahead and empty your trash. So it's just a really nice way to get options for whatever you're clicking on. The trackpad will do some other nice stuff as well. Probably the most common one that a lot of people might know already is just being able to use it for scrolling through a web page. But I do see a lot of people use the arrow keys or the space bar to scroll up and down through documents or web pages. But if you lay 2 fingers on the trackpad and push up and down, and you don't even have to click, it's just a drag, that's going to allow you to scroll. Easier than trying to find the scroll bar, and a little smoother than using the arrow keys. Okay, so maybe I've got a couple different windows open, and my desktop is starting to get a bit cluttered. Well, if I just want to get a glance at everything that's open on my desktop, you can take 4 fingers and push up on your trackpad. And that's just going to show me everything that's open. So I'm ready to use Safari. All I do is click on Safari, and that comes into focus. I'm ready to switch to something else, so 4 fingers up on the trackpad. I can go and switch to Calendar. That's a handy one. And then, speaking of organizing windows, whenever you are in this view, this mission control view, if you put your cursor in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a plus with another desktop appear. If I click on that, it's going to give me a second desktop. So I'm just too cluttered, and I want to have notes and reminders on one desktop, and Safari and Calendar on the one I'm already on. So I can go ahead and click and drag Notes to Desktop 2. I can drag Reminders to Desktop 2. And those are going to remember to open over there. But how do I get over there? So another 4-finger gesture. If you slide across, left across your trackpad with 4 fingers, it's going to take you to that new desktop you just created. So now I've got my notes and reminders in one spot, my calendar and Safari in another spot. So if you find yourself switching between maybe a web page, researching, and then writing in a document, it's just nice to be able to switch back and forth without having to click anything. And you can get crazy and you can make as many of these as you want. I think 16 or 32. And you can even change the background picture on each one. So on my home computer, I've got like 7 different ones with different background pictures for whatever mood I'm in. Maybe a beach, maybe some mountains. Any other gestures I'm forgetting? Oh, I think I know one.
Zoom in on a web page, the pinch to zoom.
Yeah, pinch to zoom. Web pages especially, and a lot of other applications, you can put 2 fingers down and spread them apart. It's going to allow you to zoom in on
Just
whatever
like an
you're looking
iPhone
at.
or iPad. Just like on an iPhone or iPad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of these gestures carry over from a touchscreen device. So you can go ahead and zoom in and out just like that. And there's actually another way to zoom as well. And that's by using 2 fingers and tapping on the trackpad twice. So wherever your mouse is where it's going to zoom to by tapping twice with 2 fingers. So it kind of knows what you're pointing at. So if you do that on a news website, you know how a lot of news websites, there's huge pictures and ads everywhere with tiny little text, and you want to get to that text in the middle. By double tapping with 2 fingers, it's going to zoom into whatever your mouse is hovering over.
Reader.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned that.
So just like on this news website, I'm able to just get into the content that I want to get into. So if we get into an article, a lot of times you'll have an option called Reader. So there's a lot going on in this web page, and it's kind of hard to focus on the text. So if I go to my address bar, which is where I type in websites, and I see the little lines on the left side, click on that, it's going to bring up Reader, which sort of takes whatever web page you're looking at and turns it into print style, like newspaper style article. Just a lot easier to read and look at. Then you can click it again and you'll get back to the standard web page. So let's say we're reading through an article and we find an interesting word that we maybe want to look that word up or find more information about. It's not a great example, but the word proposals. If I tap that word with 3 fingers, that's going to pull up my dictionary. So whatever word I tap on with 3 fingers brings up dictionary thesaurus.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I'm on the same page as you, and I don't get those 3 lines. So, you know, the lines at the top where you went. What do you do then? They're not there.
Let's take a look.
One's
It is a feature in Safari.
Where's my home page?
I'm on Chrome and they're not there.
Safari is actually the only
Oh,
browser that will support Reader.
oh.
Let's see where that would be. It won't show up.
Safari is the only one that does the reader part.
So it exists, but it doesn't want to.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't want to use
It's no big deal, I just wondered, yeah. I'll probably update it to
LeBron James signed with,
okay.
agreed with Cleveland. LeBron
Not a
James
big deal, I
agreed.
just wondered.
2-year, $47
So
million
once they're in the,
with a player option on the second.
they're underneath the bookmark, how do you delete?
Yeah.
To find them,
If you don't
Oh,
want,
yeah.
if you don't want them, then the bookmark.
Yeah.
That's what you take.
yeah, the bookmarks menu, up in the menu bar, that's going to allow you to edit bookmarks.
But if you want to delete them from the bookmark, or delete the bookmark, how would you?
If we go into edit bookmarks,
Okay.
under bookmarks, be able to click and use the delete key on the keyboard to get rid of some bookmarks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question,
Mhm.
you went up there to get rid of the stuff that's too busy on here to just do text.
Yeah.
Can you print it like that? So you
Never
don't
tried
do
it.
all the advertisement and stuff?
Yes, you can.
You can? Okay.
It'll save it as a PDF.
Awesome.
For the students that have the mouse in the computer, on the computers, how would they look up the dictionary? Is there a special way for a mouse?
If you right click, you have access to the word lookup. It would be the first option there. Not as slick as a 3-finger tap, but still easy to get to with a right click. Does anybody ever have multiple tabs open in Safari or Chrome or anything?
Does anyone not have those?
Yeah, just like tons of them, right? We're gonna open some tabs. It can start to get kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you close out the one that you really want to come in.
Yeah, oops, right? Well, if you are already zoomed out all the way on a web page and you try to zoom out further by pinching your fingers together, on Safari, that's going to show you all your open tabs that are available.
What do you do? So you,
If you pinch,
Right, right,
if you have multiple tabs
right,
open,
right, right, yeah, okay.
and then when you're ready to go to a new tab, one that you already have open, you can either click on it or you can do the opposite of the pinch. Like try to zoom in and it'll zoom you right in. What is going on? That is a obtrusive. Okay. Let's talk about key commands a little bit. Key commands can be sort of hard to keep track of and kind of annoying to learn sometimes, but once you learn a few of them, they can really speed up your workflow. Because really the less time you spend on the computer during the day, the better. So,
Can I ask a question?
what's up?
Does anyone know any key commands already? Such as?
Print,
Yep, copy, paste,
Copy,
put in.
paste.
Yeah,
That's got it.
and how do you do it?
On mine, it's just Control C and Control V.
Or in the Mac, Command C or V?
Yes.
Yep, okay, so I just wanted to see if people were getting that. Cool, all right.
Yeah, so those are some common ones, but how do you even go about learning new ones? And so I've had people ask me at Apple, like, oh, can you give me a list of the key commands? I would have to hand them a book that's big, and then it would be impossible to even find the one you're looking for. So a rule for me is, if I go to the menu bar to do something in the menu bar 3 times in one day, if I go to that same thing 3 times, it's probably useful for me to learn the key command. So what's great is beside every menu item, you actually have the key command listed right there. So I'm always opening new tabs. So if I look right beside new tab, we have that little symbol is the command key. and then T, so Command T. So if I have to go use that 3 times, I might as well try to, open it, look for it, and then instead of clicking on it, actually hitting Command T and saying the menu item in my head. And after a few times, it just kind of becomes part of the way you use the computer. Occasionally, you'll find some other strange symbols in the menus, like this one for edit bookmarks. There's like sort of like a slope and then Command B. So that's going to be Option, the Option key, which is next to the Command key. So I can edit bookmarks by using Option Command B. And we've also got one to get us to the home page of Safari. And that's got an up arrow. So that big bold up arrow is the Shift key. So that's Shift Command H. And I think the only key we haven't seen yet is this little caret up arrow. That's the Control key. So really, Shift, Control, Option, and Command combined with letters opens and does a lot of stuff on the computer. Of course, nobody could learn all of these, but as you go through and learn them and use them, it's kind of fun to see how little you really have to use the mouse or trackpad. You can do a lot just using keystrokes.
I can't remember the last time I closed an application by going to File Close. Or Print, File Print. I mean, once you just kind of get the hang of it, you wouldn't think of going and searching for stuff. You just tap it. Closing windows, Command W. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Spotlight.
Spotlight, yeah. I mean, command keys are huge. Huge time saver. Huge time saver.
So I don't know if this is on all versions of the operating system, but you can now access those fun emojis that are on your phones right there, really anywhere in the operating system. And that's under Edit, Emoji, and Symbols. Or you can just internalize the Control Command Space. It might be called Special Characters on the last operating system.
I got arrows.
Yeah. I usually.
We're not special enough to get on.
How many URLs have emojis in them?
None?
No, right?
Is that your question?
That'd be something. Yeah.
So, let's say you want to go over those trackpad gestures sometimes, because there's a lot of them and they're kind of hard to remember. Right within your system preferences on your computer, which if you don't know where that is, you might as well use Spotlight, right? So Command Spacebar, type in the first few letters of system preferences. There we have it. This is where all your settings for your computer are. There's going to be a section called Trackpad right there within System Preferences. And that's going to show you little videos how to do pretty much everything we just went over as far as the trackpad, as well as anything I forgot.
One of my favorite gestures, and I don't think everyone is, can you go to point and click? I think it's point and click. The 3-finger drag. Love this. So you don't actually have to click and hold on anything to drag it around on your desktop. You just lay 3 fingers down, as long as your cursor's on that window, and it drags it with 3 fingers. So it's just super smooth.
Good one. Okay, so that's like just some of the stuff that I can think of as far as, what you could call basics, but you know, how would you ever know where to find that sort of stuff, you know? The Mac operating system is so kind of like clean and simple that it's not very obvious sometimes where these things are. So, was there any questions that anybody had about either anything we went over or anything they're curious about?
Too many questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who would like to go mine?
Drop it next to this one.
All right. This does not have straight. There we go.
Okay, we're going. I don't know if it's just my buildings, but I seem to have the most printer problems out of all my technicians. So I think it's something I'm doing. I see this all the time. Okay, pause printers and the like. Okay, especially in labs for your upper grades. Okay, a lot of these become paused. What we're finding is, although most of our printers are about 10 to 13 years in age, they basically have been here since about 2003, 2004. Even with the updated drivers, some of the stuff the kids just randomly print from the web will cause this. Okay, and especially if you're in the lab, like if I want to do, let's just say, open up Google and I just want to print this real fast. Now you see, you notice this is my printer up here. This is not how we recommend you add a printer, because basically what that's telling you right now is that's the North 146, room 146 printer. It's an HP 4300, but it's tied to that computer. That 24873 is an actual barcode of an actual computer, so it wasn't actually installed correctly. So then if I go to hit print, and I pull my print queue, it's going to look like this, and it's going to stay like that. Okay? And it will say unable to locate printer. It could say printer offline. It could say no paper. There's many things it could possibly say. And it's going to stay like that unless you go over and delete the actual print job. Okay? And deleting the actual print job is right over here, especially for the upper grades in the lab, because a lot of kids will just start printing stuff and they'll just have, like, I think the record I've seen in the 10 years I've been here is 66. Because down here it tells you how many print jobs are in the queue with the one down there. The record I've seen is 66 in 10 years I've been here. Okay? And that took about 10 minutes to delete all those too, by the way. So then, if we go back to system preferences now, it is now green, which is what we want. Okay. Also, what you'll tend to find is if a student prints something to the printer, especially in HPs, this mainly happens in HPs, is you'll get the 49.4 or 49.06 CO2 error. Basically what that is the kid printed something from the web that was a font that's not registering with the printer itself. So once again, you do the same thing. You would just go in and you would make sure the student deletes the print job, because if the student does not release the print job, what happens is you can shut the printer off, turn it back on. It may clear it out, it may not. Then they call me, and sometimes, especially in a lab situation, If the printers get going fast enough, it takes me about 45 minutes to find the actual print job. To actually, that caused the error, delete it, and then be able to restore the printer again. So, basically what I'm trying to say is, if the student's print job doesn't print, make sure they're clearing the print queues. Okay, that's going to help you, that's going to help other teachers be able to use the lab, because if the 49.4 CO2 error is there, and I can't get to it till afternoon, then there's no, and a lot of the district only has one printer in the lab, that printer's down. Okay, so that'll help with clearing the print queues, so then that way the printers can be utilized again.
Wait, one question. When
Sure.
you got to the page where you were deleting the print job, did you click on the printer to get to that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay? Now, in most cases, in a lab situation, there's going to be very few printers on there. Okay, at least in some of the buildings I service, I try to keep my lab printers down to what, 2 or 3. Okay. Now, you may have to scroll if every printer in the building is in the print queue or available to print, but we try to go in and limit the lab so that way kids aren't printing the random printers throughout the building. But yeah, any printer that's having an issue, you have to go into System Preferences and select that printer in order to delete it. So let's go back to here.
What would be the simplest way to tell the students to clear their print queue?
Simplest way to tell students to do their print queue would be, since on the student docs, we don't advertise System Preferences because depending upon the kid's computer savvy, they can do some nice stuff. So the easiest way to do that would be to have the student go up to where it says Apple up here, and then on the student account they should have an option that says System Preferences, and then that'll show up again. There's also in Spotlight, you can do the same thing as well. Okay? And then move down to where the printers are at. Okay? And then for staff, one of the neat features is if you wanted to say you're having multiple issues with multiple printers, okay, you can right click. There's an option that says Reset Printing System. What that does, so rather than sit here, if you want to delete printers, rather than sit there and select them or hit Shift and select the ones that you want, if you just want to delete all your printers, you just right click, it goes Reset Printing System, and it will delete all the printers.
Then you'd have to get them back, right?
You have to get them back by going, and Trevor's going to go through this. We have a new feature now in applications called self-service.
Oh.
These will go more into detail about that. Basically, what that will look like is it's an application that will open, and then it'll have all the schools listed on the right-hand side, and then there'll be different features for each school on the right-hand side, which includes printers. Now, it could be a package that says all the printers, but I'll let Trevor go into that. As far as we can separate them out, but we need your feedback on that as well. I mean, we try to separate the printers out as best we can. Like if it's a media center or a lab printer, having its own option so that way you can just reinstall just that printer rather than install all the printers. Okay.
So when you,
Mhm.
before you go on,
Yeah.
if we get into where we have the pause thing and we have like 7 or 8 kids printed, but we don't know which one, say, had the wrong font that's causing the error,
Mm-hmm.
how do we find out which student is, or which computer is the one that caused the problem?
What'll happen then, if you have 6 or 7 students, if you go to one, I mean, it's almost like a process of elimination. I mean, as they delete their print jobs and then try again, then you'll be able to find it that way. There's no, I mean, the computer doesn't really tell you which computer, like if it was 1 through 7, say it was computer 6 that was causing the error.
Okay,
'cause
so
that
it
was-
won't be able to tell us
No,
which
you
one
won't
it
be
is?
able to tell, no.
Okay. So we would have to have, like, say the 7 kids, all of them go in and delete their print queues and just
Correct.
have them print one at a time?
You print one at a time, or just trying to see what they're printing,
Okay.
because what I've been finding out is full page PowerPoint slides don't work real well with HP printers, okay? Sometimes kids like to get the 8.5 by 11 black and white photos. Most of the printers can't handle those. So it's more like, what are they printing? I mean, a normal Word document won't do this,
Okay.
okay? IEPs can. It just depends on how big they are.
Okay.
I know some IEPs are smaller than others, but depending on the IEP, that can also cause printers to pause as well. But most of the time with those, you're printing to a workroom or you're printing someplace else where it's, students don't have access to pick up an IEP, obviously.
Right.
Okay. Yes?
I just have a question.
Sure.
We have in the media center, so much wasted paper. Do you think the district will ever have where the students log in as themselves and we will know, like, who's printing all the, like, if they print a big stack of papers?
As of now, no. There's still ongoing discussions about that, but all I can say is that we're at the discussion phase.
Sometimes we just can't pinpoint it and just have to let it print out.
We tend to move away from the server accounts because it just bogs down the network and it just makes the network slower. So then basically what we're trying to do is just free up the network as best we can with that. But those discussions are still ongoing. But as of now, no, there's no real option to do that right now. Okay? Any other questions?
What happens when sometimes you try and find the printer with your computer and it seems to find it? I mean, is it the computer's issue or?
It can be.
Or sometimes there's just so many.
There's so many printers like all right, for North, for example, if you're by a community school and you want to print down the phys ed wirelessly, may or may not happen. May or may not happen because because you have to really think about where you're located at in the building. Okay, I mean if you're on one end and want to print to the other end, you may run into issues.
So it's better just to try and get as close as you can.
Yeah, you want to try to do the closest printer that you possibly can do.
And you talked about that, you said that one particular printer was wrongly added in the wrong way. What's the correct way to add a printer then?
Correct way to add a printer? Well, there's several different ways you can add a printer. We're recommending through self-service because basically, and Trevor will show this, it looks like a little install package. It looks like a big yellow box. And then it'll install, it'll run through its thing, and then it will show up properly in your printer list.
So you can't just add the plus that you say that.
You can do it that way, but you would have to know how. We haven't published, or I don't think we're planning on publishing IP addresses.
Okay.
Because we have lists. That's why we do it so fast, because we have Excel spreadsheets that have all the IP addresses on them. But that's how you would add the printer correctly that way. But we can go through that. I mean, so you can do that at home. I mean, it's the same way at home.
Right.
Okay. You hit the plus button. Okay. First thing that pops up is default. A lot of people like to, oh, sweet, yay, I found it. No. No. It may work, it may not work, but it may not consistently work.
What's Dennis doing?
Okay. Correct way, if you want to add it manually, is to have it where it says the IP. Okay. You have to type in an address here. So let's type in.
So if you don't know it, then you can't do it that way.
You can't really, yeah. You have to know what it is.
Okay.
Like, well, I'll go through one just because I do this building. Okay. So this is the color copy. Okay. Most of the time, it will pull if you're connected wirelessly up here, actually on the network. It will pull up the correct driver, so you don't have to go searching for it. Because sometimes that can be fun, especially with linears. Okay. And then in the name, we are. At least we're going to try this year. Each building is going to have its own initial out front like that, and then it'll be a room number. it could be something like that, for example. And then I go ahead and add down here. And it will add it. The protocol, unless you're in art and you have inkjets or something like that, there's some other options you can have there. But 95% of the printers we have here in the district that you guys will be utilizing, this never changes. Okay? Any other questions?
Can you go back a screen? When you brought up where you were gonna print, you were out of this, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now click on that you were gonna, click on one of your printers so that one screen comes up.
Oh,
Oh, no, not that one. I think it's behind that one. Sorry. Okay, right there. Where you have your printer, so if it's, the bold is there, but then it says at the 24873,
Mhm.
if that comes up, do we don't want to print to that? Or should that be gone?
you should, it should be deleted because somebody tried to add it, somebody else tried to add it themselves. And
So if we get to a computer that when we want the student to print, and it comes up like that, we should probably just delete that one off?
I would.
Okay, so that it just doesn't get used again, right?
Right, cool.
Okay,
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
thank you.
Well, I'm Trevor. I'm not at this building, but I'm going to go over just some basic, quick break fix troubleshooting for your computers, because there are definitely times, I'm sure all of you have seen, where you've walked in to try to use something in your class, and all of a sudden your laptop is not working, or your projector's not working, or your insert here, and it's like, oh, I need it now. And so what I'm going to talk about is, just real basic stuff about what you can do to maybe try to speed your computer up, because I'm sure who here has had a slow computer? Probably everybody here. So the first thing I'll talk about is the most basic thing that you could ever do is, and it's always the biggest cliche with IT, turning it off and turning it back on. And I'm sure you guys have seen something of this sort. Why isn't it working?
Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again? Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Hello, IT. Yeah, have you tried turning it off and on again?
My favorite.
Hello, IT? Something's wrong with my computer. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, but it's the greatest thing though is that literally fixes a lot of problems. So one thing that you can do is, what I've sometimes seen is a lot of people when they are finishing their computer the day, they'll just do this. That doesn't do anything. It will actually make your computer run a lot worse if that's all you do. You can do that, it's fine. What I would always recommend, and everyone else here would, is if you are, let's say you're going home for the weekend, to actually turn the computer off and then turn it back on when you're going to use it. Because if you don't shut it off regularly, and I say regularly, maybe like once a week, twice a week or so, then so much stuff will be open and closing throughout your work day that it'll start to bog your computer down. So one thing you can do is obviously Apple shutdown, or that's pretty much it. If you, how many of you guys have seen where you're turning your computer on and it just kind of hangs on a gray screen?
The school laptops that they gave us, that's one of the reasons I keep going, it just takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
I've even started leaving it open if the kids are around, just because it just takes forever.
Yeah, we're going to be working on ways to definitely speed up the start process, because it's mostly have to do with the hard drives, because if the hard drives are fan hard drives, like all of the new MacBook Pros are, they tend to be a lot slower than like a solid state, like with MacBook Airs or those sort of computers. So stay tuned for those. So yeah, if you're installing an update and it sort of hangs, try not to turn your computer off while it's doing that, because it might break things a little bit more, just as a side note. Or you can like actually go up and turn your network off in the middle of an installation if it's still on this screen, and that actually would help. Am I correct in saying that? I think you, Justin, you were the one telling me that. Was it Patrick?
What?
The gray screen where it hangs and you leave the network. You were just telling me about that?
No.
That's what you said.
I was saying you don't want it to leave the network.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So ignore everything I just said.
Actually, the opposite.
Go ahead, you take this one, Justin.
Yeah, so when you log out, and actually you wouldn't have the option to turn it off or on, but when you log out of your system or go to shut it down, if it's managed by us, which all of the teacher laptops are, it will check in with what we call the JSS. It's our server for the Apple devices. It will check in with that server if there's updates, including Flash or whatever it might be. At that time, it's going to install those updates. Well, as a user, you might just see a gray screen. We've tried to put notes on there now that pop up and say something's being installed, but it doesn't always say that. But that's what's happening when we're stuck on that gray screen whenever you're logging in or logging out. That's what's going on. If you forcefully or manually push the power button to shut it down, those updates may not install properly. They probably won't install properly, and they could cause whatever was being installed to no longer work properly. You also don't want to, and this is where Trevor was going, you don't want to leave the network. So let's say you go to log out and you look and the screen's gray and you're like, oh, heck with it, close the lid and leave the school. Well, those updates are being downloaded from the server. So you've just broken that download process. A lot of people don't realize that's what's happening. They just say, forcefully shut it down, or I'm out of here. Let that process finish. Let it go back to the login screen where you see your little teacher, student, technician profile logins. Let it get there and then close the lid and take off. You just don't want to leave the network when it's
Okay.
yeah.
I have a question about updates. I get like a message almost every day to install updates, and I'm kind of confused. I'm not sure. Some teachers say they install them, some don't. I know Ed said some of the updates can affect Infinite Campus, like the operation of that. Do you recommend when we get those notices we should be installing updates, or no, or does it not matter?
Personally, I like to install updates. If it's major software updates, I probably wouldn't immediately. So if it comes up saying like this is for example, the other day I think they dropped 10.10.4 for the new OS. If you're in the middle of working with something in the classroom or there's something that your software reliant on, I wouldn't install them immediately until maybe a few days after, so they can figure out if there's any bugs in it so that it doesn't break what you're doing in the classroom. Most other updates you should be able to install yourself. The only updates that I've seen that end users can't install themselves are the Pages, Keynote, Numbers software. The only reason for that is because they're paid software that we got through our Apple ID, and it requires like our Apple ID. So we'll push those updates out probably about 2 or 3 times a year when they come out, but none of those are critical.
So if we install most updates, it won't affect Infinite Campus usually?
I
No,
haven't
the update to
seen
fix
anything about that.
Yeah, the main update to fix Infinite Campus is the Java. It's Java update. That's the main one that affects it. Now, we do have. There's been some ones where in the past where on older operating systems like 10.8 or 10.9, we had to update. We had to go from like say for 10.8.4 to 10.8.5 in order to get the newest Safari because there was a feature in Gradebook that wasn't opening because of different parameters that are involved with that. But by and large, for the most part, the one that directs Infinite Campus mainly is either a Safari update, a web browser update of Safari, or Java.
And if you ever have any questions about the software updates, please feel free to email any of our technicians, because we would be more than happy to let you know.
Well, I have 2 updates that keeps popping up, and it says, when I click on them, it says have to put in a lead technician.
Yeah.
So that means that you guys have to do that.
Yeah, those are the ones I mentioned about, where we'll push out
Okay.
every so often when there's a new major update for them, but none of those are critical. They're not gonna break the software that you might use, or if you even use it to begin with, because I know that a lot of people use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those are Apple's versions of that.
So we have to continue to.
There is actually,
delay
I can show you right now a way that you can turn that off, so it doesn't pop up. What you'll do is you go to System Preferences, and then go to the App Store, and then you can just uncheck this top box, and they'll never show up again, unless you actually open up the App Store.
Wouldn't we want that for system updates to be checked though? Maybe turn off notifications.
You can make it, I mean, you can, I think that could be just a personal preference.
You know, and I think when people are talking updates, they might be thinking of different things. What Dennis was mentioning here was the App Store. So that's one place you'll see notifications for updates, and those could include the Office or like the Office type suite for Mac. Those aren't critical. Again, we don't have to worry about those. Now, some people will get a Flash update needed or a Java update needed. That's different. Now, anyone with a newer, or I should say a silver laptop, probably, if you're getting that, that means that your computer, its communication with our server broke, because those updates automatically happen. You should never get those messages.
Okay, so one of them that I'm getting is Yosemite.
That's through the App Store.
Okay.
So anything that's coming from the App Store is coming from Apple, disregard those.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about those. Just put them out of your mind. You know, if you get Java, you need to update Java or need to update Flash. Contact or put an help desk ticket, with one of us, because that means your computer is no longer talking with the JSS server, because we push all of the Java updates and Flash updates, reader updates, and all of those, we push them out to the entire district at the same time.
So when you say push, it has to be attached to the network then?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct.
The school network.
Yeah.
The school network.
So if your computer shows up on the school network, most of the time your computer, if it's talking correctly, will check in. It'll look and see if there are any available updates, and we'll pull them from our server automatically. If you typically when you log in, log out, or restart your computer, they'll.
So we put
they'll
our
grab those.
personal computer on Wi-Fi too?
They won't.
They won't do that.
But you're saying the ones for office updates really we don't need to worry about?
Nope. They say critical. They don't mean critical.
So we basically shouldn't do any updates?
You shouldn't need to do any updates.
Okay.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Like, we have, and you'll probably hear this more and more as time goes on, we use something called MDM, Mobile Device Management, and that's how we manage all of these mobile devices, iPads and computers. We can push all of these updates out, including if you need a web browser installed, we can push all that out. If Firefox comes out with an update, we can push that out district-wide. So you shouldn't have to do anything on your own. Firefox had a quirk in it this past year where it was always asking for an update that never let you update.
Mhm.
I don't have a good explanation for that. That was just a glitch. But you shouldn't have to do any updates. And usually, if it's asking you for a Flash update, it's either one, we haven't sent it out to everyone yet, so that's part of the problem, or two, that communication between you and computer and the district servers as somewhere in that's usually a good sign. Not a good sign, but a good sign. It's not communicating. Now, if we have a white MacBook over here, I think I saw one. That may not be talking with the network.
Nothing.
Yeah, right. Like it's all Wi-Fi, I guess it's
Everything's
talking to the
updated.
network, but not the servers.
Yeah.
So you're probably getting those updates all the time on Flash and Java. Yeah. And we can change that for you.
I'm turning it back in today, so
Oh,
if you want to, go ahead.
just kidding. Not gonna worry about it.
So a couple things just to go along with restarting your computer regularly. It's this handy tool. It's called a PRAM reset. It's as you turn your computer on, it's a keystroke combination that you hold down, and I'll show it to you in just 1 second. But basically, according to Apple, it fixes your video, preferences or whatever. but it pretty much fixes a lot of things that Apple doesn't tell you it fixes. And usually I'll do it probably once every month, once every few weeks on my own computer. So if you feel like it's running slow, basically what you'll do is you'll restart your computer, and then you hold down Option, Command, P, and R. All at one time. Option, Command, P, R. Wait till it dings. Keep holding it down till it dings one more time, I think. And then let it go, and your computer will start up normally. And it pretty much, it flushes a lot of the caches. It just clears like some system memory that might be bogging down your computer. Like I said, I can't really explain why it fixes more than Apple says it does, but I always recommend it if you're going to be restarting your computer.
So if you have that beach ball spinning wheel of death, and sometimes I've had it and I try to force quit something, and I can't even do that, so...
Hold down the power button until your computer shuts off.
Okay, that's what, yeah. But you don't suggest doing this option, just do that again when you restart?
Yep, do that when it restarts.
Okay.
Another thing that you can do if your computer is slowing down is, the hard shutdown. And it's almost like you're sucking the life out of your computer as you're holding down the button until it dies. One other thing you can check is if you go over to your hard drive and you two-finger click on it and say get info, check and see how much available space you have on your computer. Because if you might have a lot more space than you think you're using, and that might bog your computer down a little bit. So just one quick thing to check there.
And rule of thumb on this, when you look at your hard drives, because I've seen it, you've seen it before. If it says available space in there, normally the hard drives you guys currently have 500 gig in them. Okay, we would recommend you have about 5 to 10 gig of at least of available space. If you're in the megabytes, you need to start cleaning up some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, like where it says capacity right there at the bottom, right above the blue mark there. Yeah. If that's in megabytes, well, it could be 900, it could be 800. I've seen it. Start cleaning up some stuff. Mainly you're looking, and then when I say clean up some stuff, that's not your files, or that's not your Word documents, your PDFs. You're looking for movies, you're looking for music. Those are your larger files. Okay, PDFs. I mean, even whole textbooks aren't even that big in size.
No.
Okay, a 2-minute movie in high definition could be a couple gig, depending upon how it was rendered and all that fun stuff. So that's basically what you're looking for when we say clean up your computer. You're looking for videos and music files and stuff like that. Stuff that's not really critical for the actual computer itself. Not like the regular files are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's just one thing to check. Another fun IT cliche is if you're, for example, I'm plugged in the projector. And I know that now at North you guys will have projectors in your classrooms this year. Awesome. So if you're ever using an adapter to plug into to a projector and you're not getting anything, the old IT unplug it and plug it back in fixes a lot of problems as well. So we always like to joke about it because literally unplugging, plugging it back in, turning it on, turning it off fixes a pretty good majority of random computer issues.
Okay, I've had a couple of instances where the kids must have had some app and have been turning projectors on and off, TVs on and off and stuff like that.
With the Epson projectors, there is an app that you can remotely from your phone shut it off. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
There's no setting
Lovely.
that I can find, and I went through the entire setting of the last 4 Epson projectors we have in the district. There's no setting that says shut it, can't turn off an app. That's just a common courtesy. The kids just got to be respectful to the classroom environment.
But there's no way that...
No.
Yeah, there's no way to block that
There's
out.
no way to block that. That's just a kid being a kid. He just needs to have more respect for the classroom.
So then next, talk briefly about quitting a program versus closing the window of a program. There's been some times that I've walked into a classroom, I've walked into the computer, and the screen looks like this, but every single icon at the bottom has a black dot underneath it, which means, say it's open, the black dot at the bottom. That one doesn't work, of course. I don't think any of these work. Oh yeah, iTunes, that will do that one. So close out of iTunes, the dot still remains. The program is still open, still sort of running in the background. So the difference between hitting this red button at the top and quitting a program are pretty vital if your computer is running slow. So if you have a whole lot of programs open, your system's going to bog down, it's going to run slower. What you'll need to do is, first of all, you can go to the very top and say quit, and that will actually quit it. As you can see, the black dot went away. Or using keyboard shortcuts like we just talked about, Command Q is a quit. So if you have a bunch of, if you see those, like for example, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those sort of programs, they'll all stay open if you close the window. So if you quit all of those, that'll help. Another small thing with that is there's this setting, if you go to log out of your account, there's this little setting right here that says reopen Windows when logging back in. This will help your computer run a lot faster when you first turn it back on, because if it's checked, anything that was open when you turn your computer off will open back up. So the biggest culprits for that are Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. If they're open, they're going to take their 20 minutes to open each, and your computer will run crazy slow as soon as you turn it back on. So what you'll want to do is if you go to log out, if you don't want that to happen, uncheck that box and hit cancel, and you'll be good to go on that. So then no windows will open back up when you log back in.
I'm going to show them to keep it open and login, and especially in labs, because a lot of kids like to go like the rump gauntlet, as I like to call it, and just have them all open up all the time. Easy way to get that is to either do Command Option Escape and manually do it, or just do it like he said, where it says just go down there, click Apple, log out, uncheck, and it'll log itself back out again, and then that will clear it from there because it won't be open.
You can also go up to Apple Force Quit, and all of your applications that are open will show up on this list. If you want to, if they're not responding, if they're running slow, if something isn't working, you can go to this list right here. The other way to do that is if you actually go over to the app. I'll open up one here. If you hold down on the app until this pops up, and then hit Option, the Force Quit will pop up, and then you can just let go on that, and it will force quit the app automatically through that. So that's a good way if you have a bunch of apps open and they're freezing, they're not responding, to get rid of them so that you're able to keep going with your classroom work. Let's see. So real quick, then I'm going to go over a little bit with the what we call self-service, or what they call self-service. Since we're using this remote management in order to push out updates, let you guys install printers, etc., we're going to set this up very nicely for everybody. Hopefully by the beginning of the school year, not end of the school year, that'd be terrible. So if you go, it'll be in your applications folder, and it's an app called Self-Service. Or you can hit Command Spacebar, bring up Spotlight, and type in Self-Service. So this is what Self-Service will look like when you open it up. We'll have a few things on the featured page. A couple things that I have on here is the software called Adware Medic. Basically, if you're having issues with malware, with ads popping up on your browsers, you can download this software. It's free. It rocks. Basically, it'll run a scan on your computer. It will say, "Hey, we found this many adwares on your computer. Would you like to delete them?" You can say yes. And then so I'll show you guys real quick what that is. You click scan for adware. Didn't find any on my system because I don't click on random things on the internet. And if it does, you can say, yeah, go ahead and delete it, and it will delete it for you. And then if you just reopen your internet browsers, that should be pretty cleaned up for you.
When you'll see that typically is like you'll get some gray screens, especially in English part of Firefox that says, your computer's been infected with a virus, please call 1-800, or open a coupon site or something.
Do not call the number.
Do not call the number, ever.
Or you're the 1,000th visitor to our website. Please click on this for your iPad Air. I wish those would work.
Yeah.
So self-service is just on it's not something anybody can get.
Just through any computers that are managed, which will be all of them that are district-owned
We
machines.
can't get it now, right?
Correct. Unless, I mean, if you guys want to try it out, you can. I can. I think it's because you're probably set up pretty old. We created a new server. When you guys come back at the beginning of the school year, it'll all be pushed over, and the new self-service will be there for you. So this one right here will be another one that'll be on the featured page, cleaning up your computer. It's a nice policy that'll run where basically it will flush the cache on your computer, repair your disk permissions. It might take a little bit longer to run, but it will help clean up your computer, like it says.
Trevor, would we be able to do that in the lab?
Yes.
Those computers?
Yep, that'll be on any computer that is district owned, that is newer, and has self-service on it. I put a printer on here, so this is how we're gonna manage printers. When you guys come back, you'll have on the side sheet over here, I don't have as many set up yet, but there will be a list of every building. You'll basically click on it, for example, technology printers, and it will be any printer that's available in the building, for the most part. We're still trying to figure out if we want to do some of the smaller ones as well, or the individual classroom ones. We might just scope those to the individual people that need them. But at least every copier and the color printers for every building will be in this self-service. And what you'll do then is you just click install. And it might not work on mine because I think I already have it installed, but it'll run, map the printer, clean up, yep, and you're good to go. And it will disappear from self-service. So if you ever have a question of whether you've installed the printer or not, check in self-service or in your own system preferences. If it's not there, you've already installed that printer. And I think that if you delete the printer, it'll pop back up in self-service, and I think there's a way of doing that. But then we'll also have software in a tab. So for this example, I just put Adware Medic, Air Server, and Google Chrome in there. If you don't have any of those, and those will be available, you can just click install, and it will run it, install it. You don't need a password. You don't need any of us to come and show up at your computer and click on it. It'll be all ready for you. So you can put any software that you'll need that we have available on your computer, and you can put whatever printers you need on your computer.
So all the printers will be listed there on that self-service?
Yes.
Or not, it's just you're close to them?
It'll for now, I think we're going to set it up where all the printers in the district will be on that list.
Suppose you're using your own personal computer most of the time. How do you go about adding a printer there if you need to? You just gotta get the
For that, you'll need to put an out desk ticket, probably, because we don't manage personal machines.
If I email, can I have the IP address of this one, then you can get it?
Sure.
Okay.
Is there ever a way when the kids are using the iPads and they want to print to a printer to get those to hook up to a printer?
Not without having to jump through a bunch of hoops.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's see. So yeah, so the last thing I have is troubleshooting Wi-Fi issues. So I'm sure we've all had it where nothing will connect, everything's broken, etc. Quick, easy ways to check it and see if it's something between your computer and the network is to come up to the Wi-Fi symbol, turn your Wi-Fi off, wait about 10 seconds, turn it back on, and it'll reconnect. Old IT cliche, turn it on, turn it back off, or turn it off, turn it back on. If you want to get, actually I don't know if you can. Yeah, on your laptops you can try this as well because you have administrator access. If you click on the Wi-Fi and hit Open Network Preferences, then hit Advanced under your Wi-Fi, a list of all of your Wi-Fi networks will show up. One thing you can do is delete all the school networks off of them and then rejoin them, because that'll prompt you for the password again, and could help with any just weird connection issues. Or you can come over to the TCP IP tab and click Renew DHCP Lease. It'll switch for a minute, hit OK, and then sometime that could fix it. And if not, then put in a help desk ticket, one of us will come take care of it. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you pushing out the quick app package?
I can.
Want to?
Okay, yeah, we can do that. It will cause your computers to restart. So if I would save everything, and I'll push that out in a minute.
Yeah, so you have something that you're working on. I don't think.
No.
Well, the PC actually, it will. You'll probably be seeing the white MacBook show up.
This
The white MacBook, yes.
You don't need to push anything out to it, I guess. If it's
You have to know what the name of that computer name is on that.
piece of crap. Oh, sorry.
Alright, 1 second.
It's TOEF 34.
34, okay.
Works the same way. Same way with iPads. The way they print. You have to have special software. So
I don't know what password is.
on airplane. There's no way to secure
That's it.
So for example, if you had airplane printers that break their iPads, every student who has an iPad would also break their iPad. You can't plug it. Like, you can save it somewhere, email it or.
It is crawling. It should not be crawling. It's quick edit package. Maybe it's 3.2 gigabytes. And it's a.
No.
Hey, Justin. Oh, nope, there it goes. I was gonna say, it was at 2% after about 30 seconds for a 3.2 megabyte file.
Oh.
But it's going now, so.
Okay. That's, yeah.
It's like, whoa, this is a crawl.
It should, if you're, it should be, you should put it somewhere in the room. If they're not, I know it's just no.
Inside the circulation. I can't get like something
Yeah, well, unfortunately, what happened with that was they have those other stuff, and there's limited students, so it's gonna hang over. They already had teachers like, I want to do it, they can't because there's not, Right, yeah, so we're going, they have to, they're about district wide, so they're coming back, we have to listen to them. I don't know why it was on and why they took it off. Unless they agree. Normally what they do sometimes.
I think it's
I can open it up and I can break those guys. The whole, I don't know, turn it on.
If you don't actually leave and your computer is doing those updates very screen. Right, today you shouldn't do anything.
About, what's the longest amount of time that it would take? Because like,
I'll
when
send
I
it on.
put it on,
Typically, no.
They're still the same, it's just.
Because most of the time we try to push them out earlier in the day. What I would do maybe when you get to the building or when you're going to lunch or whatever, just restart your computer. And if you restart your computer, then it will grab all of it. So like while you're eating lunch, then it can be installing everything. Yeah. Because a lot of the policies they trigger on login, log out, shutdown, and startup. So if any of those occurs, you can even just log out, and it will sometimes, if there's a software update, it'll grab it and install it while you're logging out. Then when it comes back to the login screen, you'll be good to go.
So, if we have a question that we don't know is better off emailing you directly.
Putting in a ticket, yeah.
How do the tickets work when they come to central?
It's set up now that tickets, for depending on who the building technician is, will go directly to them. So as soon as someone puts a ticket in, I get an email notification saying, hey, so-and-so put in a ticket, and all the ticket details, so I'll know immediately. I think it's like as soon as you hit it, it pops up.